Hello my friends and welcome. My name is Dennis and today we have a very interesting topic for our discussion, pilot with autopilot. If you stay with me throughout this video, I'll tell you why are you going to fly on a full automated airplanes in the future and what will happen to my profession. I'll change my tie for today, let it be the red one. So my friends, let's start. And I was digging down through this topic, I discovered one of the research that surprised me actually. According to Oxford University statistics, the 45% of all jobs, of all professions that we know today will be replaced by robots, artificial intelligence and automation systems. The replacement should take just 2 decades. So in 20 years, almost half of profession, half of the jobs will be replaced with the artificial intelligence. So people may lose their jobs. What are the most vulnerable professions do we have for this replacement? Let's see. Well, according to recent research, it's like this. Drivers, pilots, farmers, brokers and traders, and of course dispatchers. For drivers, of course, we all know that it's not a surprise that most of the cars will be replaced in future for automated cars without any drivers. We already have the technology that the car nowadays can drive themselves through the streets and they can park themselves. Nothing new. The same will be applied for the huge trucks and lorries to deliver goods everywhere around the world. And of course, it's a good thing for those who own logistic companies. Imagine yourself being top manager in one of those and you have all the automated trucks in your company. The truck with no driver inside can go for 24 hours, 7 days per week. Throughout the year, no one will get tired, no one will need salary, no one will need rest. So it's a good thing to have probably. I don't know about the drivers, if it's good for them, probably no. For the pilots, I put the question mark here and we'll get to it a little bit later. For the farming, of course, it will take a lot of time because in most of the world, farming is still made by human or animals. But we have just few companies in the world like Nestle, Coca-Cola that wants to make this process as more automated as possible. Brokers and traders, the first one who will go. For now, only 25% of trades is done by human beings. The rest, 75% are for bots, even now at times. Dispatchers means air traffic control, 911 dispatcher, all the dispatcher will be replaced by artificial intelligence, and that's for sure, guys. I haven't told you about the pilots so far. We are in statistics, however, I'm in great doubt about that. Pilots, does everyone can drive a car? Mostly, yes. Does everyone can fly the airplane? Mostly, no. That's why I put the question mark here. Why is it so? Why can't you just go to 3 months course to be a pilot and carry passengers on the most modern airplane? To become a pilot, you need to know many things. First, you need to build your own base of knowledge, study navigation, weather, principles of flight, etc. And later on, you can be type rated and you can study some airplane type where you can fly on. And piloting the airplane is not even comparable with the car driving, because if you have a problem driving your car, you can just stop, solve the problem, or you can call the maintenance that will come and solve the problem, fix your car or take it to some kind of maintenance. In air, we don't have these tools. And for the flight, we cannot just stop. We need to fly the airplane through the air, and our fuel is not infinite. So our time is very limited to be in the air. That is why all the problems in the air are very crucial to be solved immediately. So pilot may be replaced in the airplane with same or more safe artificial intelligence. Do we have it right now? No. Will we have it in 20 years? I think no. Come on, Dennis, you are telling lies, because on every commercial aircraft we have autopilot nowadays, and if you put the special program, the airplane can fly on its own. Of course it can fly on its own, I'll tell you more. 95% of all flight time, the pilots use maximum level of automation. So in the end, why do we need 2 pilots to be in the cockpit of commercial aircraft? I'll tell you right now. Let it be pilot. It's a pilot. And here we have the airplane, and pilot needs to operate the airplane to control it. First, it was direct manual control through some kind of levers or yoke. The yoke is connected directly to the airfoil, for example, to the elevator. So if the pilot pulls the control column, the elevator will go up. But now we have the different system. Now we have the autopilot and the pilot interface. The pilot interface controls the autopilot, and autopilot now deflects the airfoils. Or you can go to the basics and not using the pilot interface and autopilot, and with the manual control you can control the airplane surfaces. What is pilot interface? Basically it's mode control panel, for example on a Boeing 737, and MCDU. Multi-purpose control display unit. Through these features we can control flight management computer and automatic systems or automatic flight systems like this. What I want to tell you guys is that pilots are still keeping the airplane under control, whether it's autopilot on or off, whether it's pilot interface used, they always keep the airplanes under control. I will tell you example, guys. If you want this airplane to climb flight level 150, for example, 150 flight level, you can use a pilot interface to put 150 in MCP window, put some vertical mode, for example vertical speed around 1500 feet per minute, and the airplane, if the autopilot is on, the airplane will maintain this vertical speed until it reaches 150. Totally automated, but you need to put signals and commands for the autopilot to perform this climb. If you switch the autopilot off, you need to do it by yourself. Let me call it semi-automatic, because you don't have the autopilot anymore and you need to fly this airplane manually, but you have some helpful features. For example, on your PFD, on your artificial horizon, you have the pitch bar showing you around 1500 feet per minute, and then you reach flight level 150, it will go to altitude hold mode, which means that you have this bar drop down, and if you maintain this bar, you will have level of flight on flight level 150. And if you totally remove this interface and you control this airplane manually, you don't have any helpful features anymore. You just need to manually maintain 1500 feet per minute on your vertical speed indicator, and then level off by yourself on flight level 150 with no flight directors, no any bars, just use old-fashioned artificial horizon. So you want me to delete this guy. Okay, and we put some kind of artificial intelligence, i.e. and it receives the command from air traffic control. By the way, the same artificial intelligence system, maybe they know where the airplanes need to fly and where should it go. The airplane knows where to climb and how to climb with what vertical speed. But what will happen in case of emergency? You may say to me, follow non-standard procedures that are already there. We have the quick reference handbooks in our airplanes, and if something happens, we can open it, search for what is wrong and do specific action for it. So you may think that this guy can do the same. Actually, guys, no, you need to go through the decision-making process, because every situation, every non-standard situation is non-standard, and you cannot write anything in your quick reference handbook to deal with a particular situation. That is why there should be a pilot inside the cockpit with non-standard, non-machine thinking. Evolutionary, as human beings, we developed abstract thinking and non-standard thinking to deal with the problem. Our brain is very unique, but it also has some disadvantages. For example, one pilot can concentrate on his or her decision, but in this case the other pilot can be helpful by delivering the information to other pilot that we are doing something wrong. And the special procedures are listed for the non-standard situations because we need to follow them to get the particular way throughout this emergency case. But as I said, you cannot write everything. Sometimes you need to figure out your own way how to get out from this particular emergency or non-standard situation. Hey Dennis, recently I saw the video about the Garmin 3000 presentation which they use on a single engine aircraft. That aircraft can land on its own and fly, avoid terrain and weather, etc. And it's very easy, so why do we really need pilots? Yes guys, I also saw this presentation that they had on a single engine aircraft, and I would say it's a fantastic feature to have if you fly a single pilot airplanes. There are some single pilot airplanes like in a business aviation, private aviation I would say. Some airplanes, mostly small airplanes, are certified for single pilot operation, and in this case for Garmin 3000 presentation they use it as emergency. So this system was speaking to the passengers, and this system was doing auto flight on its own but during emergency circumstances. As I understood from this presentation, if the pilot become incapacitated and there is only one pilot, the passenger can turn on this system, can turn on the Garmin 3000, and the system can land this airplane more or less safely without disaster. The weather avoidance based on weather radar and the terrain avoidance based on terrain data, which is in a flight management computer. And the weather radar and terrain data we also have on Boeing 737 and on every other modern commercial aircraft. Hey Dennis, I think you are wrong because there are some military drones flying everywhere, and I do have DJI drone which can follow me everywhere, and it's very simple. So you're probably wrong. Yes guys, the military drones are great and some of them are capable for full automatic flight. They do have artificial intelligence installed, but they're very sophisticated because they're used in the military. And military is always at the edge of technology, and military is always at the edge of budget. So that is why military aviation is always developing few steps forward compared to commercial aviation. We have so many rules and so many regulations, and it's very hard to implement the newest technologies into the airplanes. In commercial aviation it takes time. The system has so many inertia that it takes a lot of years to implement some new things. So that is why military drones are so sophisticated, and that is why even DJI drones can fly and follow you, because they have a new technology implemented to their artificial intelligence system. But honestly saying, most of the drones do not have artificial intelligence system. They have pilot. Let it be pilot. So the pilot is far away from the drone. Let it be drone now. But the pilot has almost the same controls as we have on our airplanes. So can we do it for a commercial airline? And can we just sit in some kind of place with the flight controls and pilot the commercial airliner full of passengers? Isn't it a great idea? Actually, not. Pilot also need to be connected to the airplane, not mentally, not by internet or something. Pilot needs to get to the airplane to fly it safely. Pilot needs to share the same airplane with passengers. They need to share the same destiny. Whether it's a destiny for normal flight or whether it's a destiny for deal with an emergency or non-standard situation. If you move pilot away from the passenger aircraft, the pilot would think differently. As human beings, we have instincts, and as human beings, we think rationally. For the pilot, it will be just airplane in the sky, full of people of course, but if there will be no some kind of relatives, sons, daughters or wives, there will not be any direct mental linkage to this plane. And of course there will be no any self-preservation instinct inside the pilot's head. He or she will be in comfortable conditions, sitting in a chair and just dealing with the situation. And if situation goes wrong, with great probability the pilot will follow the manual step by step, not deviating to the left or to the right. Even though following this manual would lead this aircraft to crash. The airplane would crash, and this person, the pilot, will not go to prison because he or she would have done everything according to manual. But who are responsible for those manuals? The people like me and you, and people making mistakes. If the pilot inside the airplane, like we have now in commercial aviation everywhere, we are responsible not only for passengers' lives, we are responsible also for our own lives, which helps us to find some different ways to deal with this situation, non-standard ways. And I'm not tired telling you guys that you cannot write everything in a manual. Sometimes you need to search for different alternative ways to deal with the situation. So guys, robots, artificial intelligence, and all these automation systems are very stupid for commercial aviation, and you still need pilot to fly. Or no? Let me explain you what is happening and what will happen. And we have a simple scheme over here, how simple machines work, how they work on an airplane. So here's our autopilot, and it needs information. What you put by yourself. For example, you put the airspeed. You want to accelerate the aircraft from 200 knots up to 250. So accelerate the aircraft from 200, it feels right now, and you want 250, and the autopilot has its own function here of how to do what you want from it. So it accelerates by putting the thrust lever or by pitching down the nose. So it has its own function of acceleration, but anyway, you have the result. The result is from you accelerated from 200 to 250. Very simple. The difference with artificial intelligence is that the system checks the result with the input. If it had done everything correctly. And in some cases, the system can change the goals. It can put its own goals, it can manage how to deal with the situation, and the system itself can make a different result. So that is how artificial intelligence would work on airplane. Let's play the situation with artificial intelligence. For example, you want to accelerate from 200 to 250, which is quite high. And you put it in the system, and the system already feels the result. But also, system feels the aircraft is very close to the runway. It's around 10 miles away from the ILS. And the airplane needs not to accelerate, but to decelerate. So the artificial intelligence cancels pilot command and start to reduce the speed and extend the flaps. So that is how it works. It makes its own decisions. And that would be really pilot-proof airplane. The most developed artificial intelligence model for nowadays is neural network. The model is very similar to human brain biology, and it's widely used nowadays by different programmers. I'll just shortly explain you what can it do for aviation. So guys, neurons here, the same we have in our brain, but artificial. As you see, we have many layers of neurons. There could be many, but as always, we have input neurons on the first level, on the first layer, and at the last layer we have output neurons. Between we have hidden neurons, hidden neuron layers, which are doing most of the job. So I'll just connect this neural network with the airplane. Input neurons is basically what airplane detects, like indicated airspeed, for example, altitude, temperature, let it be vertical speed. All this information comes to input layer, and then it proceeds to hidden neurons, which are interconnected with input neurons, and they're interconnected with each other. This, we have many connections, and finally we have output neurons, which can control the aircraft based on information we have. So whether we can pull the control column up, for example, this neuron for up, this for down, this for left, this for right. So let me explain you as whole again. We have the incoming data, we have the processing information in hidden neurons, which has some kind of the function, and we are coming with some kind of result. The problem with the result is the same problem that we have in our human brain. The system tries to guess. So in our situation, for example, the system guessed to fly upward. But it's not the right answer for these conditions, and for example, this answer would lead to some kind of bad situation happening to the airplane. This information processing from input to output is called forward propagation, which gives us nothing because the system would fly in different directions, up and down, left and right, trying to guess what to do, just like a baby. It may sound creepy, but it's our baby and we need to teach it how to fly the airplane. The best thing about the neural network is that system can learn on its own mistakes, and this process called backward propagation. For example, here we have wrong answer up, and the system doesn't know that it's wrong, and we need to show the system that the correct answer, for example, to fly down, to move the stick or control column downwards. How to explain it to the system? How to do the backward propagation? Basically by showing the ethalon flight. So instructor just want to train the system to make a landing, and he or she flies the simulator, makes a good landing. After that they connect this neural network to the simulator, and the aircraft will crash. It will crash many times, thousands of times, but finally the neural network will make a nice landing. Let's see example with a car race game. So here is a car on a racetrack, and now it's under manual control of programmer who designed this racetrack and this car, and also designed the artificial intelligence. It's now under manual control to show to artificial intelligence, to neural network, how to drive this car. The car has many sensors on front, so the neural network will understand the position of the car relative to the racetrack. So here we go, the first generation of neural network driven cars, most of them crashed, but we take the car that made a long distance. So that car will be put in next generation of neural networks. And here we go, after a few generations, you can see the cars are more or less driving okay through these racetracks. Most of them made long distances, and after dozens of generations the cars are making their way through this racetrack much faster compared to human being. So my point is, yes, the airplane can be flown with this kind of artificial intelligence, the artificial intelligence that can learn, the artificial intelligence that can make non-starter decision by guessing what to do. It's future of programming, its future of artificial intelligence. So I think this can be replacement of me. But as always, it's a great but, because now we cannot train the artificial intelligence, the neural network, to fly the real plane. We can train it to fly the simulator. It can do many crashes on the simulator. It can fly it at the end, but the simulator is not similar with real airplane. The airplane differs. If you ask every pilot, every particular airplane has some kind of different feeling compared to the same airplane type, but another one. How to train this system? For now, we don't know. In future, of course, these kind of systems would fly commercial airplanes. But would you fly this kind of airplane? Honestly, guys, you will, and I will tell you why. Automatic systems are more and more incorporated into our human being lives. Automatic vehicles makes no news for us, and little by little we come to the point where all our life will be surrounded with automated systems. Now we cannot even accept flying the airplane without the pilot, but in future you will. Our psychological perception of things changes then the time goes. A little bit more than a century ago, people used to ride horses, now we all drive cars. And a self-driven vehicle, the car, more than a century ago was accepted as something weird. Now we have constantly developing new technologies. Now we have internet to communicate with other people to make it grow faster. Now we fly to space, and now we fly most modern commercial airplanes. Just imagine what will happen in a few decades. Your perception of everything will change. Now guys, I'll tell you then it will change. It all depends on money. They need to invent new artificial intelligence. They need to put lots of detectors and improve airplane automatic flight system. They need to improve ground infrastructures to make the automatic landing at takeoffs. And they need to make lots of backups. Backup, i.e. backup detectors, backup airports, etc. So it all needs money. And the other money are for me, for my preparation, for pilots preparation. So the other money are for pilots. We have ground facilities for pilot training like simulators. We have flight schools with special design aircraft for pilot training. And also pilots needs to have salary, house allowance, per diem, insurance, etc, etc, etc. And also pilots can get sick, they can strike for several days, and airline would lose a lot of money. And you always need to compete with other airlines, maintain a good salary level for pilots, because now in the world it's a pilot shortage. So my answer guys is then the artificial intelligence piloted airplane will be less cheaper compared to pilot operated airplane. We'll all be flying without a pilot inside the cockpit. The main thing is to keep these two on the same safety level, then we can transit to artificial intelligence piloted airplanes. Headiness, according to official statistics, almost 70% of accidents happen because of pilot error. So isn't it time to transit to artificial intelligence airplane? Yes, you're right, 70% of all aviation accidents, around 70%, happen because of pilot error. The rest 30 are because of maintenance, bad aircraft design, weather, etc. But I would rather think it's 100% of human error, because the airplane being designed by humans, the maintenance was done by humans, and the airplanes were flown by pilots. We have 70% of pilot error here, quite huge number, but there is no any percentage of how many accidents were avoided and prevented by pilots' action, by proper pilots' action. Thousands and thousands of aircraft flying all around the world, and in use sometimes, maybe once a month, we hear about some kind of small crash happen or big crash in once in several months. It is very high safety level, guys. The system, I agree, the system with failures, with accidents, is not perfect, but it's the best system we have right now. The safety level is so high that we cannot reach it flying on fully automated aircraft. As I said before guys, the autopilot is the best pilot. It can perfectly fly the airplane in the air, but it cannot make decisions. It cannot solve the problem. Of course, someday there will be fully automatic airplanes in commercial aviation, but for sure it's not nearby future. And then there comes the day then the airplanes will be fully automated. There still will be small airplanes flying in the mountains somewhere where you can fly as a pilot. So I think my profession would live at least till the end of this century. Now thank you very much for watching this video guys. Like it if you like, subscribe for my channel, and I hope you have a great time.